We're gonna start with the D class, meaning like the worst that was in the league last year, as far as like winning games, as far as competing and putting up competition and having the worst teams. It's gonna be the D class. We got the Falcons, the Bears, the Browns, and the Washington football team. Not to say that these teams can't get better. It's just that they got the potential. The potential was there, and like they just never really got the train going and on the right track. It's like they could beat you. You can't sleep on these teams and just think you're just gonna run over them. But they were kind of like, with you seeing that game coming up, you probably felt like you were definitely gonna win that. Next up, we got the C class. Now these are the people that you will lose to more consistently than the D class. They're not super good, but they're not super bad. You didn't When you seen them on the schedule, you didn't feel like you could 100% win the game, but you knew most likely you probably would beat them. But it was more like up in the air. It was more, I would say, it wasn't 50-50. It's probably like 60-40 on beating these teams. They weren't making the playoffs or anything. None of these teams, like they would never make the playoffs. I mean, the Chiefs and the Cowboys, they came late in the season, so they didn't play up to their full potential, nor did they have a team to. But they were still, you could still beat them consistently. Now we get to the B ranks. These are your playoff teams. These are teams that made. It was a 4-year league, and they made the playoffs at least 2 or 3 times in those 4 years. And with a couple making it all 4 years, they can make the playoffs. Sometimes it's a first round exit, sometimes it's a second round exit. Like I don't think any of these teams ever made the Super Bowl, but they were always in the playoffs. They were always giving competitive games, being right there, competing. There's 2 teams on here that didn't make the playoffs, but that's because they picked up these teams late with bad records, and they just made a playoff push. And that's the Broncos and the Bengals. Now the Bengals, he got suspended from PlayStation, and he had to take some unnecessary losses, but he did make a push, and he could have made the playoffs. I feel like had he played from the beginning of the season. So now we reach our top players. These are teams where more than likely they're gonna beat you if you play them. 2 of them went to 2 Super Bowls, and the Bills won one. They easy like right there with the S ranked teams, and these was just your playoff, 100% playoff teams, 100% a hard game. You got to focus up in this game. You got to try hard in this game, or you're gonna get blown out. Players, and that's the Dolphins, Bills, Eagles, Vikings, Jags, Cardinals, 49ers, Saints, and Ravens. Now, the reason I put the 2 Super Bowl teams in there is because the Bills, although he did win the Super Bowl, he didn't go to the other 2 Super Bowls, and it was like he was more easier to beat than the S ranked people. And then with the Eagles, I can't ignore the fact that like he was at the bottom of the league the very first year, and then like playing him wasn't like playing the S ranked people. He could win games, he could win playoff games, he can go to the playoffs, he can go to the Super Bowl, but it was like he never really snagged the Super Bowl, and it just wasn't the same playing him as it is playing the top people. But he could definitely beat you consistently. Finally, we got our S rank. These were just players you did not want to see on your schedule. You knew 100% that you probably gonna lose this game, and that is the Lions, the Jets, the Panthers, the Rams, and the Seahawks. Now the Rams and the Seahawks came in late, but they hit the floor running. They were like I think the Rams came in scoring multiple 50-point games. These are your top creme de la creme players. And I can't forget that the Lions is our last season Super Bowl champions. These ranks are just my opinion and how I feel about our franchise.